I stared at my father across the mahogany conference table, certain I had misheard him. The quarterly meeting had started like any other Tuesday morning at Sterling Construction, but Harold Sterling's words hung in the air like smoke from a building fire. Jessica would inherit 100% of the company effective immediately. My sister smirked from her chair, twirling a pen between manicured fingers, while Dad explained his decision centered on fresh leadership and new vision. 8 years of my life flashed before my eyes. 8 years of rebuilding this company after his heart attack nearly killed him. 8 years of sacrificing everything, including my engagement to Sarah, for 80-hour work weeks and endless dedication. The betrayal cut deeper than any physical wound I had ever experienced. My journey at Sterling Construction began when I was 24 years old, fresh from college, with a business degree and zero real-world experience. Dad's massive heart attack that autumn changed everything. The doctors gave him a 30% chance of survival, and our family business faced immediate collapse without leadership. I threw myself into learning every aspect of the construction industry: payroll calculations, contract negotiations, site management, client relations, permit applications, safety protocols, equipment maintenance schedules, supplier relationships, union negotiations, project timelines, budget forecasting, quality control standards, and regulatory compliance became my daily vocabulary. The learning curve felt like climbing Mount Everest in work boots, but I persevered through 18-hour days and weekend emergencies. Under my strategic guidance, Sterling Construction grew from $8 million to $45 million in annual revenue. I cultivated partnerships with major suppliers, developed relationships with city planning departments, and earned respect from subcontractors who had initially dismissed me as Harold Sterling's inexperienced son. My hands-on approach meant knowing every worker's name, understanding each project's unique challenges, and maintaining the reputation Dad had built over 3 decades. Jessica joined the company 2 years ago after her lifestyle blogging venture failed spectacularly. Dad created the marketing director position specifically for her, despite her complete lack of industry knowledge or relevant experience. Her primary responsibilities involved managing social media accounts and designing promotional materials, yet she commanded respect simply by sharing our family name. The favoritism became apparent immediately. Dad always treated Jessica differently, especially after Mom died in a car accident when I was 15. While I struggled through grief by throwing myself into school and later work, Jessica received comfort, attention, and unconditional support. She could do no wrong in his eyes, while my every decision faced scrutiny and criticism. My personal life suffered tremendously during these years of dedication. Sarah, my fiancée of 2 years, finally reached her breaking point 3 years ago. She delivered an ultimatum during a candlelit dinner I had already postponed twice due to emergency client meetings. Either I found balance between work and our relationship, or she would find someone who valued her presence. I chose the company, believing our future depended on its success. Sarah returned her engagement ring the following week, and I buried the pain beneath another layer of professional achievement. Now, sitting in this conference room, Dad explained how Jessica's innovative social media approach convinced him she represented the company's future. Her Instagram posts about construction sites and LinkedIn articles about industry trends apparently demonstrated visionary thinking that my traditional methods lacked. Jessica revealed she had been secretly meeting with Dad for months, planning this transition without my knowledge or input. She immediately announced sweeping changes. The company would undergo complete rebranding, office redesign, and operational modernization. Sterling Construction needed to evolve beyond outdated practices and embrace contemporary business strategies. Her enthusiasm radiated confidence, while Dad nodded approvingly at each proposal. I discovered Jessica had already moved into the corner office, replacing Dad's oak desk with a sleek glass surface and ergonomic chair. 3 new marketing assistants occupied cubicles near her workspace, hired without consulting our human resources protocols or budget limitations. Their combined salaries exceeded the annual earnings of our most experienced foremen. Key clients began receiving exciting updates, emails about company changes, all sent without my knowledge or approval. Jessica's communications promised enhanced service quality and innovative project management approaches, though she lacked understanding of what either concept meant in practical terms. The emails featured colorful graphics and motivational language that sounded impressive, but contained no substantive information about actual improvements. The climactic revelation came when I accessed Jessica's computer during her lunch break. Email folders revealed months of correspondence with Dad, systematically undermining my reputation and contributions. She had convinced him that my methods were losing potential clients and holding the company back from exponential growth. A PowerPoint presentation titled "Brenton's Resistance to Progress" contained fabricated data about missed opportunities and outdated strategies. Jessica had painted me as an obstacle to success rather than its primary architect. Jessica wasted no time implementing her vision for Sterling Construction's transformation. Her first executive decision involved terminating 3 veteran foremen who had worked with our company for over 15 years each. Robert Martinez, James Thompson, and William Davis received pink slips on Friday afternoon, with Jessica explaining their expertise represented old-school thinking that limited our growth potential. These men had taught me everything about actual construction work. They understood concrete curing times, steel beam specifications, electrical code requirements, plumbing installation standards, and safety regulations that kept workers alive on dangerous job sites. Their combined experience totaled nearly 50 years of hands-on knowledge. But Jessica dismissed their value in favor of hiring expensive brand consultants from downtown marketing firms. The consultants arrived in expensive suits carrying briefcases filled with glossy presentations about luxury positioning and premium service differentiation. They knew nothing about construction, but spoke confidently about market penetration strategies and customer experience optimization. Their recommendations included changing our company colors from traditional blue and white to trendy teal and gold, updating our logo from a simple hammer design to an abstract geometric pattern, and developing a new slogan, "Building Tomorrow's Dreams Today." Jessica implemented an open office concept that destroyed project confidentiality overnight. Partition walls came down, creating one large workspace where private client conversations became impossible. Sensitive bid information financial discussions and strategic planning sessions now occurred within earshot of every employee. The noise level made phone calls difficult, while the lack of privacy created tension among workers accustomed to professional discretion. Her pricing strategy involved charging premium rates for identical services justified by claims of luxury positioning in the marketplace. Projects that previously cost clients $100,000 now carried price tags of $150,000 or more. Jessica argued that higher prices would attract better clients and improve profit margins, ignoring the reality that construction contracts are typically awarded to the most competitive bidder. I attempted to explain industry realities to Jessica during multiple meetings, but she dismissed my concerns as resistance to change. The construction business operates on relationships built over decades, trust earned through consistent performance and reputation maintained through quality workmanship. Premium pricing works only when justified by superior results, advanced techniques, or specialized expertise that competitors cannot provide. My investigation revealed Jessica was using company credit cards for personal shopping expeditions. Charges included designer clothing, expensive restaurants, spa treatments, and luxury accessories that had no connection to business purposes. When confronted, she claimed these expenses constituted professional wardrobe investments, necessary for representing our elevated brand image. Even more disturbing, I discovered she had been intercepting my emails and modifying my responses to clients. Professional communications I had carefully crafted to address specific technical concerns were being rewritten in Jessica's enthusiastic marketing language. Important details about construction timelines, material specifications, and safety requirements were replaced with vague promises about exceptional experiences and innovative solutions. Frank Morrison from Morrison Industrial called to express confusion about sudden changes in our communication style and project approach. 3 smaller clients requested meetings to discuss service modifications they never requested and did not understand. I privately reassured these longtime partners, while Jessica announced their inquiries, demonstrated engagement with our evolution and validation of her strategic improvements. NEM. The breaking point arrived during an all-hands meeting Jessica called without warning. In front of our entire workforce, she announced my demotion from Vice President of Operations to Senior Project Coordinator, claiming Dad had agreed this restructuring would improve efficiency. My responsibilities would be limited to overseeing individual job sites, while she maintained control of all strategic decisions and client relationships. She further announced the hiring of an outside chief operating officer from her college friend's tech startup. Trevor Walsh possessed an MBA and experience managing software development teams, but had never worked in construction or any related industry. Jessica praised his fresh perspective and innovative thinking as exactly what our traditional company needed to compete in modern markets. The demotion crystallized my understanding that staying at Sterling Construction would accomplish nothing productive. Jessica's destructive leadership trajectory showed no signs of correction, and Dad's support for her decisions made clear that my expertise and dedication were no longer valued or wanted. I could not continue watching the company I had rebuilt being systematically destroyed by incompetence disguised as innovation. I spent 3 days crafting a detailed resignation letter that explained specific concerns about company direction without attacking family members personally. The document outlined potential consequences of current management decisions, highlighted risks to existing client relationships, and offered suggestions for protecting the business during transition periods. My resignation would become effective in 2 weeks, providing adequate time for proper handover procedures and client communications. Dad called an emergency meeting within hours of receiving my letter. His face had aged years in the months since Jessica took control, stress lines deepening around his eyes and mouth. He pleaded with me to reconsider acknowledging that the company needed my experience and institutional knowledge. His voice cracked when discussing the possibility of losing everything he had built over 3 decades. Jessica dismissed my concerns as sour grapes from someone who could not accept reduced authority. She expressed relief that my negative energy would no longer poison the workplace atmosphere. According to her assessment, my departure would eliminate the primary obstacle preventing full implementation of her modernization strategies. The company would thrive once freed from my resistance to progress. Word of my resignation spread quickly through the tight-knit construction community. Competitors who had respected my work immediately began calling with job offers. Henderson Construction, our primary rival for government contracts, expressed particular interest in my expertise with large-scale projects. Smaller firms offered partnership opportunities and equity positions that recognized my proven track record of business growth. 3 key subcontractors privately expressed concerns about continuing work with Sterling Construction under new management. These specialized companies provided electrical, plumbing, and HVAC services that required precise coordination with general construction activities. Their relationships with our company had developed through years of successful collaboration and mutual respect, but Jessica's changes created uncertainty about future project quality and payment reliability. Equipment suppliers began demanding payment up front instead of extending the 30-day credit terms we had enjoyed for years. Our account representatives cited recent management changes and operational concerns as reasons for modified payment requirements. This shift in supplier relationships indicated declining confidence in Sterling Construction's financial stability and professional competence. I moved into a small apartment near downtown, selling my house to avoid mortgage payments during the career transition period. The modest space felt liberating after years of maintaining a lifestyle designed to project success and stability. Simplicity became appealing as I focused on determining the next phase of my professional life rather than preserving appearances. Starting freelance construction consulting provided income while I evaluated permanent employment opportunities. Several former clients reached out requesting advice on current projects, offering hourly rates that exceeded my previous salary when calculated on a per-hour basis. The work allowed me to maintain industry connections while avoiding the stress and politics of organizational management. Reconnecting with Sarah proved unexpectedly healing. She had remained single after our breakup, focusing on her career as a pediatric nurse while occasionally dating, but finding no serious relationships. Our coffee meeting turned into dinner, then weekend conversations that reminded me why I'd proposed 3 years earlier. Her compassion and insight helped me process the family betrayal without becoming bitter or cynical. Therapy sessions with Dr. Patricia Williams provided professional guidance for working through complex emotions surrounding family dynamics and lost identity. For 8 years, my sense of self had been entirely connected to Sterling Construction and my role as the responsible son who saved the family business. Creating a new identity independent of family expectations and business success required conscious effort and professional support. Meanwhile, Jessica's college friend Trevor Walsh began making bizarre operational decisions that defied basic construction industry logic. His background in software development led him to implement agile methodology for construction projects, treating building timelines like coding sprints that could be accelerated through increased effort and flexible planning. 3 junior employees quit within 2 weeks, citing unprofessional work environment and confusion about job responsibilities. These departures included our safety coordinator permits, specialist, and quality control inspector positions that required specialized knowledge and industry certification. Their resignations left significant gaps in operational capability that could not be filled quickly or easily. The warning signs accumulated faster than Jessica could address them, but she remained convinced that short-term disruption was inevitable during any successful transformation. She attributed problems to employee resistance rather than fundamental flaws in her approach, believing that persistence and positive thinking would eventually overcome practical obstacles and industry realities. My final revelation came through Marcus Chen, our longtime accounting manager, who remained loyal to the company despite growing concerns about financial management. Marcus discreetly informed me that Jessica had forged Dad's signature on several important client contracts, including modifications to the massive Morrison Industrial deal that could void our insurance coverage and expose the company to catastrophic liability. Trevor Walsh's implementation of agile construction methodology created immediate conflicts with building codes and safety regulations. His software development background led him to believe that construction timelines could be accelerated through parallel processing and iterative improvements, ignoring the reality that concrete must cure for specific periods regardless of schedule pressure. 2 active job sites failed safety inspections within the first month of his leadership. Inspectors found improper scaffold installation, inadequate fall protection equipment, and electrical work performed without proper permits or certified supervision. The violations resulted in immediate work stoppages that delayed project completion and triggered penalty clauses in client contracts. Jessica panicked as problems accumulated faster than solutions could be implemented. She began blaming inherited outdated systems and resistant employees for difficulties that actually stemmed from her own lack of industry knowledge and poor hiring decisions. Emergency meetings became daily occurrences as she struggled to address crises that experienced management would have prevented entirely. Sterling Construction missed three major project deadlines during Jessica's first month as company president. The delays cascaded through subcontractor schedules, creating conflicts with other clients and damaging relationships built over many years. Penalty payments for late completion began draining cash reserves that had previously provided financial stability during seasonal fluctuations. Workers started calling in sick rather than deal with chaotic management and constantly changing directives. Morale plummeted as veteran employees watched inexperienced leadership make decisions that compromised safety and quality standards. Several crew leaders privately discussed seeking employment elsewhere, concerned about their professional reputations being damaged by association with failing projects. The Morrison Industrial situation developed into a crisis that exposed Jessica's complete lack of technical understanding. Frank Morrison's $23 million government contract for military housing renovation required specific certifications, security clearances, and specialized materials that Jessica did not comprehend. The project involved upgrading housing facilities at nearby military installations work that demanded precise compliance with federal specifications and strict adherence to security protocols. Trevor Walsh assured Jessica they could figure out requirements as the project progressed, treating complex military specifications like software features that could be developed iteratively. His confidence impressed Jessica, who lacked the technical knowledge to recognize the impossibility of his promises. Military construction operates under rigid guidelines that allow no deviation or experimentation. Critical material orders were delayed because Jessica had changed suppliers without understanding specification requirements. The specialized steel electrical components and security systems needed for military housing renovation came from approved vendors who required extensive documentation and security clearances. Jessica's new suppliers offered lower prices, but lacked the necessary certifications to provide compliant materials. Frank Morrison began making increasingly concerned phone calls about project timeline and specification compliance. His questions revealed growing awareness that Sterling Construction might not possess the expertise necessary to complete military housing renovations successfully. Morrison Industrial's reputation with government clients depended on subcontractor performance, making them extremely sensitive to any signs of incompetence or delay. During this period, my new life was taking positive shape. Henderson Construction offered me a prestigious consulting contract to help them pursue government projects similar to the Morrison deal. My expertise with military specifications and security requirements made me valuable for their expansion into federal contracting work that commanded premium rates and offered long-term stability. I successfully helped Henderson win a major airport expansion project by applying knowledge and relationships developed during my years at Sterling Construction. The project involved renovating terminals and expanding runway capacity work that required coordinating with federal aviation authorities and managing complex logistics. My reputation for delivering projects on time and within budget opened doors that Henderson had struggled to access independently. Sarah agreed to resume our relationship after witnessing my newfound clarity and confidence. The man she had fallen in love with years earlier was emerging again, no longer buried beneath family obligations and desperate attempts to prove my worth. Our conversations flowed naturally as we rediscovered shared interests and rebuilt trust that had been damaged by my previous obsession with work. Dad's growing awareness of mounting problems created visible stress that worried longtime business associates. Bank representatives began calling with questions about unusual spending patterns and declining cash flow projections. The company's financial health was deteriorating rapidly under Jessica's management, threatening credit lines and operational stability that had remained solid for decades. Insurance company representatives threatened policy cancellation due to repeated safety violations and claims filed by injured workers. Sterling Construction's previously clean safety record was being destroyed by Trevor Walsh's disregard for proper protocols and Jessica's cost-cutting measures that eliminated essential protective equipment and training programs. Dad realized he might have made a catastrophic mistake in transferring control to Jessica, but pride prevented him from admitting error publicly. His conversations with longtime partners became increasingly strained as they expressed concerns about recent changes and questioned the company's ability to maintain quality standards and professional reliability. The climactic crisis arrived when Morrison Industrial sent formal notice of contract breach, threatening to terminate the $23 million deal unless Sterling Construction demonstrated immediate capability improvement. The notice detailed specific failures in material procurement, timeline adherence, and technical competence that violated contract requirements. Jessica hid the breach notice from Dad for 3 days, while frantically attempting to resolve problems independently. Her panic-driven efforts included offering massive discounts to material suppliers, promising impossible timeline acceleration, and making commitments she lacked authority or ability to fulfill. Each desperate measure created additional complications rather than solving underlying problems. The crisis exploded into full view when Morrison's project manager arrived for an unannounced inspection and discovered Sterling Construction crews using completely wrong materials for military housing specifications. The specialized steel required for structural modifications had been substituted with standard construction materials that Trevor Walsh believed represented cost-effective alternatives offering identical performance. Military specifications exist for critical safety and security reasons that cannot be compromised through substitution or improvisation. The wrong materials not only violated contract requirements, but also created potential structural weaknesses that could endanger occupants and compromise building integrity. Morrison's inspector immediately halted all work and threatened contract termination with possible lawsuit for delays and specification violations. Jessica finally confessed to Dad about the breach notice and the mounting problems that had accumulated during her brief tenure as company president. The conversation took place in Dad's home office, where he had been recovering from stress-related health issues that kept him away from daily operations. Her admission revealed the scope of mismanagement and incompetence that had developed in just a few weeks. The stress of learning about potential company collapse triggered Dad's second heart attack, though fortunately much milder than his first episode 8 years earlier. Emergency room doctors stabilized his condition quickly, but the overnight hospital stay emphasized the serious health consequences of business crisis and family conflict. His cardiac specialist recommended avoiding stress and delegating business responsibilities to competent management. Dad called me from his hospital bed the following morning, his voice breaking with desperation and humiliation. He admitted that Jessica was completely overwhelmed and begged me to return temporarily to salvage the Morrison contract and prevent company bankruptcy. His offer included reinstating my position as vice president and granting significant operational control to repair the damage. Jessica initially refused to accept outside help, insisting she could handle the Morrison situation, despite overwhelming evidence of her incompetence. Her pride prevented acknowledgement that the technical requirements exceeded her understanding and capabilities. She continued believing that determination and positive thinking could overcome practical obstacles and industry realities. I explained calmly that I had moved forward professionally and personally building a new career independent of family business obligations. The bridges had been burned through deliberate actions and conscious choices rather than misunderstandings or miscommunication. My response detailed specific damages Jessica's management had caused to relationships' reputation and financial stability. Sterling Construction faced potential bankruptcy if the Morrison contract was lost given the size of the deal and the penalty clauses triggered by breach of contract. $23 million represented more than half of the company's annual revenue, making its loss potentially catastrophic for financial survival. Additional lawsuits for delayed damages could drain remaining assets and force complete liquidation. My conditions for any potential assistance included full operational authority, written agreements, preventing interference and public acknowledgement of management errors that had created the crisis. These demands were not negotiation tactics, but essential requirements for protecting my professional reputation and ensuring the ability to implement necessary corrections. Jessica's breakdown intensified as she realized Morrison's technical requirements were completely beyond her comprehension or ability to address. The military housing renovation demanded expertise in specialized construction techniques, security systems, integration, and federal compliance procedures that required years of experience to develop properly. Trevor Walsh quit suddenly after discovering the scope of legal liability associated with specification violations and safety infractions. His departure came without notice or transition planning, leaving Jessica without even incompetent support for addressing the mounting crises. His resignation letter cited stress levels he had never signed up for and blamed unrealistic expectations for his failure to deliver promised results. 3 more key employees gave notice during the same week, citing unprofessional work environment and concerns about company stability. These departures included the project scheduling coordinator, client relations manager, and senior estimator positions, essential for basic operational functionality. Their loss effectively crippled Sterling Construction's ability to pursue new work or complete existing projects. The climactic moment arrived when Morrison's legal team served Sterling Construction with formal breach notice demanding immediate resolution within 72 hours, or they would terminate the contract and pursue damages for delay costs. The notice explicitly stated they had already begun preliminary discussions with Henderson Construction as a potential replacement contractor. Dad's discharge from the hospital forced him to confront the full scope of Sterling Construction's collapse and his daughter's role in creating the disaster. Hospital bills added financial pressure to an already strained budget, while his cardiologist's recommendations limited his ability to handle stress or resume active business management. Investigation of company finances revealed Jessica had accumulated over $400,000 in unauthorized expenses during just 6 weeks of leadership. The spending included marketing consultants, office renovations, new equipment purchases, hiring bonuses for unqualified personnel, and numerous personal expenses disguised as business investments. Credit lines were approaching maximum limits, while cash flow had turned negative. 3 additional major clients formally requested contract renegotiations or threatened termination due to quality concerns and missed deadlines. These clients represented millions of dollars in future revenue and decades of business relationships that were being destroyed by incompetent management. Their loss would compound financial difficulties and further damage Sterling Construction's industry reputation. The bank called an emergency meeting to discuss line of credit concerns and modified lending terms based on deteriorating financial performance and management instability. Loan officers who had previously offered favorable terms now demanded additional collateral and personal guarantees that Dad was reluctant to provide given his uncertain health and family situation. The local construction union threatened to blacklist Sterling Construction due to repeated safety violations and failure to maintain proper working conditions for members. Union representatives cited specific incidents where workers were endangered by inadequate safety equipment and supervisory negligence. Blacklisting would prevent access to skilled labor necessary for large projects and further damage the company's ability to compete. Jessica made a desperate final attempt to contact Morrison Industrial, directly offering massive price reductions and service guarantees she lacked authority to provide. Her communications bypassed established protocols and professional courtesy, creating additional irritation among Morrison executives who expected competent technical leadership rather than emotional appeals and financial desperation. Morrison executives refused to meet with Jessica, demanding immediate access to competent technical leadership, capable of addressing specification requirements and timeline concerns. Their patience had been exhausted by weeks of excuses and incompetent responses to serious technical questions. The military housing renovation could not be delayed further without triggering federal contract penalties that Morrison could not afford. Jessica discovered that Henderson Construction had already submitted a preliminary proposal to Morrison Industrial for completing the military housing renovation project. The proposal demonstrated technical expertise and industry experience that Sterling Construction no longer possessed under her leadership. Her realization that I was likely consulting on her family's most important contract represented the ultimate humiliation. She finally admitted to Dad that she was completely out of her depth and unprepared for the responsibilities of running a construction company. The acknowledgement came too late to prevent disaster, but represented the first honest assessment of her capabilities and limitations. Years of favoritism and artificial confidence had prevented realistic self-evaluation until crisis forced brutal honesty. Dad made a second, more desperate phone call to me from his home office, surrounded by financial documents and legal notices that painted a grim picture of company prospects. His offer included giving me 50% ownership if I would return to save the Morrison contract and prevent bankruptcy. The proposal represented complete reversal of his previous decision and acknowledgement of catastrophic error in judgment. Jessica joined the phone call tearfully, apologizing for her mistakes and admitting she had systematically undermined my reputation through deliberate deception and manipulation. Her confession revealed the calculated nature of her campaign to convince Dad that I was holding the company back rather than driving its success. The apology felt genuine but came after irreparable damage had been done. Dad revealed he was seriously considering bankruptcy without the Morrison deal, given the scope of financial obligations and damaged client relationships that would be impossible to repair quickly. Bankruptcy would eliminate debts, but also destroy the company's reputation and his life's work, leaving him with nothing to show for 3 decades of effort and sacrifice. My response outlined specific terms for any potential assistance, emphasizing that I would require complete operational control rather than partnership arrangements that could create future conflicts. Jessica's immediate resignation from all executive positions was non-negotiable, along with public apology to fired employees and affected clients who had been harmed by her mismanagement. Written guarantees of non-interference from family members were essential to prevent future undermining of professional decisions. The 72-hour deadline for decision matched Morrison's ultimatum, creating pressure for immediate commitment rather than prolonged negotiation that could waste precious time needed for contract salvage efforts. The construction community watched Sterling Construction's crisis unfold with mixture of sympathy and professional interest. Industry relationships meant that business failures affected multiple companies through lost subcontracting opportunities and disrupted project schedules. Some competitors hoped to benefit from Sterling's client losses, while others worried about damage to overall industry reputation. Henderson Construction's owner called me personally to discuss my intentions and gauge my interest in pursuing the Morrison contract through their company rather than attempting to salvage Sterling Construction. The conversation revealed sophisticated understanding of industry dynamics and recognition that my expertise was valuable regardless of company affiliation. Former Sterling employees expressed interest in returning if I resumed leadership, but many had already accepted positions elsewhere and could not easily reverse their career decisions. The brain drain had damaged operational capability beyond quick repair, making immediate recovery extremely difficult even with proper management. Subcontractors and suppliers adopted wait-and-see attitudes, unwilling to extend credit or commit resources until Sterling Construction's leadership situation was resolved. Their caution reflected hard-earned wisdom about construction industry volatility and the importance of working with financially stable partners. The climactic revelation came when Morrison's project manager called me directly at Henderson Construction, offering the military housing renovation contract personally if I could assemble a competent team within 48 hours. Morrison revealed they had been aware of my role in Sterling's previous success and preferred working with proven expertise rather than attempting to salvage failed management. Standing at the crossroads between family loyalty and professional integrity, I chose to pursue the Morrison contract through Henderson Construction rather than attempt to salvage Sterling Construction's damaged reputation and depleted capabilities. The decision reflected business logic rather than emotional reaction based on realistic assessment of what could be accomplished within available time frames and resources. I informed Dad and Jessica that Sterling Construction had burned too many bridges for redemption during their brief period of mismanagement. Client relationships, supplier partnerships, employee trust, and industry reputation required years to rebuild, while Morrison's contract demanded immediate competent execution. Good business requires reliable partners rather than emergency rescue operations that prioritize family feelings over professional capabilities. Henderson Construction officially won the Morrison Industrial contract, with me serving as project director, bringing together a team of experienced professionals who understood military specifications and federal compliance requirements. The transition occurred smoothly because Henderson possessed established relationships with approved suppliers and certified subcontractors necessary for government work. Sterling Construction filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy within 2 weeks of losing the Morrison contract, unable to service debt obligations without the project's cash flow and revenue. The bankruptcy proceedings allowed orderly liquidation of assets while protecting Dad's personal finances from complete devastation. Legal protections prevented creditors from seizing his home and retirement accounts. Jessica accepted an entry-level marketing position at a small local firm, earning valuable humility through starting over without family connections or artificial authority. The experience taught her fundamental business principles and professional skills that had been bypassed during her privileged rise to undeserved leadership. Her new employer valued enthusiasm and willingness to learn rather than demanding immediate expertise. Dad retained ownership of remaining company assets, primarily equipment and smaller residential renovation projects that matched his original expertise and interests. The scaled-down operation allowed him to work directly with his hands, again finding satisfaction in craftsmanship rather than corporate management. His stress levels decreased significantly as responsibilities became manageable and personally fulfilling. Family relationships began healing slowly through mutual respect rather than entitlement and favoritism that had created resentment and conflict. Monthly dinners resumed with clear understanding that business discussions were off limits, allowing focus on personal connections and shared memories rather than professional disagreements and past mistakes. The Morrison project succeeded spectacularly under my direction at Henderson Construction, finishing 2 weeks ahead of schedule and 8% under budget through efficient planning and experienced execution. Military officials praised the quality of work and professional management that exceeded their expectations for timeline and specification compliance. Henderson Construction promoted me to partner with equity stake, recognizing the value I brought to their government contracting capabilities and long-term growth potential. The partnership agreement included profit sharing and decision-making authority that reflected genuine appreciation for my contributions rather than family obligation or artificial loyalty. 4 former Sterling employees joined Henderson's expanded team in senior positions, bringing institutional knowledge and proven capabilities that enhanced our competitive advantages. These professionals had maintained their industry certifications and technical expertise despite the chaos at their previous employer, making them valuable additions to our growing organization. Industry recognition followed as trade publications profiled my professional recovery and the successful completion of challenging government projects under Henderson's banner. Speaking engagements at construction industry conferences provided opportunities to share insights about business management family dynamics in professional settings and the importance of competence over connections. Personal growth accelerated as Sarah and I married in a modest ceremony attended by construction industry friends and colleagues who had supported my career transition. The wedding represented new beginnings based on authentic values rather than artificial expectations or inherited obligations that had previously complicated our relationship. Dad attended the wedding ceremony having gained genuine respect for my independence and integrity through observing my success outside the family business structure. His presence demonstrated healing family bonds, while acknowledging that professional competence must be earned rather than inherited or assumed through favoritism. Jessica spoke briefly at the reception, publicly acknowledging my expertise and character while accepting responsibility for her previous mistakes and deceptions. Her words carried sincerity that reflected genuine personal growth rather than strategic positioning or calculated manipulation. The healing process required honest acknowledgement of past wrongs before building authentic relationships. Family gatherings became enjoyable rather than stressful, as clear professional boundaries eliminated competition and comparison that had poisoned previous interactions. Dad's stories about his early construction experiences entertained rather than created pressure to measure up to impossible standards or prove worthiness through constant achievement. The life lesson emerged clearly through months of reflection and therapy sessions that helped process complex emotions surrounding family dynamics and professional identity. Real leadership must be earned through competence and character rather than inherited through favoritism or demanded through manipulation and political maneuvering. Family businesses require professional standards and objective evaluation, rather than emotional exceptions that prioritize feelings over results. Successful organizations depend on merit-based decision-making that recognizes actual contributions rather than potential or good intentions that cannot substitute for proven performance. Sometimes the greatest gift involves allowing people to face natural consequences of their choices rather than enabling continued irresponsibility through rescue operations that prevent learning and growth. Jessica's failure at Sterling Construction ultimately taught her valuable lessons about preparation, humility, and respect for expertise that she could not have learned through continued artificial success. True respect develops through proving individual worth independently rather than demanding recognition based on family connections or inherited position. My success at Henderson Construction felt more satisfying than any achievement at Sterling because it reflected personal capability rather than family obligation or loyalty. Henderson Construction continued expanding into specialized government contracts, building on our Morrison success to win airport renovations, federal building upgrades, and military facility improvements that commanded premium rates and provided steady long-term revenue. My expertise became the foundation for a thriving practice area that employed dozens of skilled workers. Dad's residential renovation business flourished within realistic scope that matched his personal energy and interests. Working directly with homeowners on kitchen remodels, bathroom upgrades, and room additions provided satisfaction without the stress of large-scale project management and corporate responsibility. Jessica developed genuine marketing skills through starting over at entry-level learning to create value through service rather than expecting success through privilege. Her new competence earned authentic respect from colleagues who judged performance rather than pedigree. The experience taught humility and work ethic that had been missing during her artificial rise to leadership. The story concluded on a warm Saturday morning when I visited Dad's latest project, helping him install custom cabinets in a historic home renovation. Working side by side with hand tools, reminded us both why we had originally been drawn to construction work. The satisfaction of creating something tangible and useful through skill and effort transcended corporate politics and family drama. Sarah arrived with coffee and homemade sandwiches, joining our informal worksite lunch break in the client's backyard garden. Jessica stopped by after finishing her morning marketing presentations, genuinely proud of both Dad's craftsmanship and my business success. The painful lessons about favoritism and entitlement had transformed into authentic family relationships based on earned respect. Our conversation that afternoon covered topics ranging from construction techniques to family memories, business philosophy, to personal dreams for the future. The healing process had created space for genuine connection without the competitive undertones that had previously poisoned family interactions. Dad's wisdom about construction work serving as metaphor for life relationships resonated differently now that we each understood our proper roles and capabilities. Building strong foundations requires honest assessment of materials and conditions, rather than wishful thinking about what we hope might work despite obvious flaws. The emotional resolution satisfied my need for justice while creating opportunities for redemption and growth that benefited everyone involved. Holding people accountable for their actions ultimately served their long-term interests better than enabling continued irresponsibility through misguided loyalty or artificial rescue attempts. My final realization involved understanding that true success means building something lasting through authentic relationships and genuine competence, rather than temporary achievements based on family connections or inherited advantages. The pain of betrayal had ultimately led to liberation from expectations and obligations that prevented authentic self-expression and professional fulfillment. Henderson Construction represented not just career advancement, but personal growth that allowed me to contribute fully without reservation or resentment. Working with colleagues who valued my expertise created energy and enthusiasm that had been missing during years of fighting for recognition within family dynamics that prioritized politics over performance. The lesson for others facing similar family business challenges involves recognizing that sometimes walking away serves everyone's long-term interests better than staying to fight battles that cannot be won through logic or demonstration of competence. Professional respect must be freely given rather than demanded or extracted through guilt and manipulation. What challenges have you faced when family relationships conflicted with professional integrity? How did you navigate the difficult balance between loyalty and personal growth? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and remember to like this story if it resonated with your own experiences. Subscribe for more stories about overcoming workplace betrayal and family business drama, and share this with anyone who might benefit from understanding that sometimes the hardest decisions lead to the most meaningful victories. Thank you for listening to my journey, and I hope you find the courage to choose your own path when faced with similar crossroads in life.